My name is Dan Pearson. I'm a landscape designer. I've been working with Maggie's now for 12 or 15 years, I think. The first garden I made for them was at Charing Cross Hospital, and the second garden was in Manchester Maggie's. I first became aware of gardens, I remember, as a very small child, probably when I was about 3, and there was a gap in our fence. I remember looking through the gap into the neighbour's garden, and we moved house, and my father made a pond at the end of our garden in the orchard, and I helped him plant the pond. And that summer I became very aware of this evolution that was happening in the pond, with all the plants growing and the wildlife that was attracted to it. To be lost in that world of things that grow is something that I always hark back to as being a place of oasis. Gardens are important places, and Maggie's have always sought to include them in the design of their projects. What we've endeavoured to do at the centres is to provide interest for people on a daily basis, so that there's that sense of momentum with things changing, there being something particular to each day. Always a forward, positive movement, never something that dwells in a negative moment. The Manchester Maggie's is one of the largest centres. We're fortunate there to be able to have a long rectangular plot. I've thought very much about what those gardens are like in Japan that have very limited spaces. So often they're just a quiet little moment, but with something that always captures a season, captures the elements, and brings nature up close to the windows. And in the most private places where we've got quite limited garden space, we've made these tiny little picture gardens, which are special places for people to look out into when they're in conversation. The main part of the garden has its focal point of a conservatory which sits in the middle of the garden and allows people to garden in that space and look out into a flower garden that's full of life and interest, and then a series of raised beds where people can grow vegetables and herbs and food to eat. And the fact that people are gardening there brings the whole thing to life, and it keeps it real and makes people feel that it's an accessible place. If I had to describe the garden in 3 words, I would say it's a working oasis. The West London site is very difficult because it's a tiny site, or was originally. We managed to commandeer a piece of ground wedged between the consultant's car park and the road, and we've made that into a long walk which meanders through plane trees. By the time you get to the front door, there's a feeling of calm that's descended because you've walked through a garden with its woodland understory of planting. And what's special about this garden is it's a series of gardens. It unlocks as you enter the centre. So there are these moments of contemplation, and when you're in the centre, there are views out of every single window into garden spaces. Right now the garden has just gone through its spring moment with the magnolias blooming, and they welcome you at the entrance to the centre with a copse of magnolia merle which bloom bright white against the wonderful red of the building. My top tips during lockdown would be to garden wherever you can. All you need is a window box or a pot or 2 to set yourself off with a project. We're very lucky to be gardening in springtime during this lockdown, and there's all this promise and optimism ahead of us. So nasturtiums, sunflowers, things that grow fast, tagetes will provide an immediate reward. My advice to people who don't have gardens is to try and look at what's going on whenever you go out for a walk. A daily walk will reveal daily changes. Gardens are always moving forward and evolving and changing. They're never static. This very continual changing momentum that's provided through things that grow, and I think to be part of that is quite a remarkable thing. You don't have to be a gardener to enjoy the gardens.